Welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys, episode 420. All the marijuana heads out there are celebrating, and we've hit the finish line.
I wish I would have realized it. We could have had some gummies before this. This could have been episode 420. This should have been a drug episode. Oh my God, what was I thinking?
You left it on the table.
We had 419 episodes to prepare for this, and we let it go by the wayside.
Well, there's nothing saying we can't make it 420.1, 0.2, 0.3. We can just keep this going.
Even if I dropped some gummies now, it wouldn't kick in till the end of the episode. I am sorry, people out there. That's okay. We've got something that is much more pressing. We are returning to the world of scaring the bejesus out of you with terrorism.
Yeah.
Woo-woo. With everything that's been going on in the world today, we wanted to revisit the idea. Now, this was something that, as babies in the fire world, me and Bob came up with the whole, we didn't come up with, but we came up in the culture where terrorism was a huge deal. And we really did think that we were going to be going to lots of stuff all the time. Like, that was kind of how it was ingrained in us. So we've got some things from the past that we want to talk about. We also want to understand how terrorism has changed over the past 20 to 25 years. And we're going to talk about that. This is definitely going to be a multi-part series. We can't wait to jump into it. But first, things we need to mention.
Yes. So, guys, I want to let you know we have some awesome news. We have 2 new shows coming out. One is going to be periodical and one is going to be regular. So get to marking your check. Pull out the pencils and write this stuff down. December 13th of 2023 at 19:30 hours Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be having our long-awaited Battery Destroyers Club show, which, if you remember, we mentioned we in September combined up with a whole bunch of big partners and we went and blew up tons of batteries. We put the rubber to the road. We heard your messaging about, I heard you could do this, or I heard it could do that. Well, we did it. And so we have tons of data on it, and we are going to basically have a reacts and watch party. We'll show you the videos. It's going to be live comments. We are bringing Red Wave, Telops, Fleer, Teledyne, Blackline, Cell Block. All these reps are going to be on this thing, and we're going to be watching the videos and talking about it. So if you have questions, come on to the Facebook and YouTube. Put them in there, and we'll throw them at the experts, and we'll talk. There is no end time to this. We're done when we're done.
Right. And just so everybody's aware, with all these different companies that are in with us, everybody is on the same page. There was no agenda. There was nobody's using this stuff for marketing. This was literally, let's answer questions and let's see what we can do with what we have. So it's going to be a great time. Now, beyond that, it is definitely safe to say that we are starting to lose some of the people that have created the hazmat world just through, natural age.
Life.
They're coming to the end of their natural life expectancy. And one of the things that we don't want to lose, and we are losing very rapidly, we've already lost too many of the founders of hazmat. We want to start taking their stories, their information, their experiences, and audio archiving it so that future generations can go back. They can learn how things started, what kind of problems they ran into, what kind of issues they ran into, how they overcame these issues. And so we're going to be debuting our After Action Report podcast. And it's going to literally be strictly on the field of hazmat. And we're going to be doing it live January 3rd, 2024 at 19:30 hours Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. Our first guest is going to be Mr. Mike Callan. Comments will be on, so you can go to Facebook or YouTube and comment, and hopefully we'll get to your questions. But this is going to be a fun show because there's going to be like a dueling piano type of operation. Trust me, you're going to kind of want to see how we did this when we reinvented the whole show. It's going to be completely different than this. It'll be a lot of fun. So, a lot to be said. And, conferences. Connecticut Fire Department Instructors, WAMR, Northeast Hazmat, which is the Massachusetts, formerly Massachusetts, OMRA, Michigan, Cold Zone, South Carolina Hazmat, New York State, and there's like 7 or 8 others that I haven't really finalized. So, yeah, come and see us.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Oof. All right.
So let's dive
get
into
the content.
Yeah, let's dive into today's stuff. Definitely we've got really two. Ooh, my collar's all messed up. You didn't tell me that, Bob.
You look like a mess.
I'm always a mess. I am. But I cut my hair. I'm looking less homeless. I know. Oh, thank you. I never get compliments from Bob. He's usually angrily yelling at me. All right, so we've got two goals for this podcast. We mentioned a little bit earlier. One, we want to kind of talk about the things that we learned growing up in the terrorism hazmat world, and we want to make sure that those lessons are never lost. Right? We want to apply them and make sure that you've got them today, and then we want to kind of take a look at what the new trends are. It's through normal human course of nature, we tend to lose out on some things that we start off. I think there's that whole natural deviation.
Yep. Normalization of deviation.
Normalization of deviance. There we go. So it's important to go back and review some lessons.
I love it. And the second part of what we're trying to do here is we were prepared for, I'm going to say really, back in 2001 was like the tipping point. The early 2000s, definitely, right? And tactics have changed. Thought processes have changed. How we respond has changed. The tools that we have access to has changed. So it's important to look at this topic through both lenses.
Right. So what are some of the things that we learned, way back when? Geez, I can't even believe we can say way back when. 2021, shortly after 9/11. These are in no particular order. One of the first ones that came to our minds was secondary devices, right? So what is a secondary device? It is something that is set up strictly for the first responders, right? So an event happens, something draws us in, and then since we're there, another device goes off to try to injure us as first responders. And this was such a big deal that when you got into the hazmat rig, there was probably a label that was maybe 6 inches high, and the letters were maybe 2 inches wide, and it said secondary devices right on top. Just to always remember to be on the lookout for secondary devices as you're coming in.
I think everybody kind of understands those things. Like the whole premise was like they would call in false reports, and then wherever you park the rigs consistently, they would put the secondary device there to get the responder. So how do we keep an eye out for it? You gotta keep a secure perimeter, right? First responders should establish a secure perimeter around the incident site to control access and minimize the risk of encountering a secondary device. This perimeter should be set up at a safe distance from the primary incident area. If memory serves, I don't know if it went off. It was something that they in a dumpster.
Oh yeah,
because they kept calling in.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the case studies that we talk about in a little bit. That would be the abortion clinic.
That's it.
Yes, the abortion clinic. So another thing you can do is follow established protocols. Now, of course, this, is subjected to that they're good protocols, right? We want to make sure that the protocols are good, but we also, if you have good protocols, you want to make sure that you're well trained in recognizing and responding to secondary devices. We want to make sure that we're following strict scene management. So if your protocols are good, don't deviate from the protocols, but make sure that those protocols allow for flexibility in response so we don't hit some of the other things that we're going to talk about later.
I love it. Situational awareness, which was a thing. I'm going to say fire department started really tweaking on it, but I mean, hazmat, you have to be. First responders should maintain a heightened situational awareness at all times. And I mean this like seriously, even in the firehouse or at the police station, when you're thinking we're down, we're cool, like things happen. So be alert to unusual sounds, sights, behaviors that may indicate the presence of additional threat, and communication among the team is essential for sharing observations and information using something like Cavcom.
Oh, Yeah, which, by the way, when that episode comes out, guys, you have to listen to it.
Yeah,
we won't get into
cool.
it here. But no, that's a perfect example of using, equipment. And as long as we're talking about equipment, we might as well talk about personal protective equipment, right? It is far too often nowadays that we respond on scene and we get off of the mundane stuff totally half-dressed, right? We're not fully prepared. We're not fully geared up. Again, that it lends into that natural, God, I can't remember the name. Normalization of deviance. Why I can't remember that for the life of me. And we just, this is what we want to make sure that we've got our regular stuff on. And in today's modern terrorism world, which we didn't have growing up, having to think about things like ballistic vests, helmets, and other protective gear, not only for that secondary devices, but for active shooters, is something that has to be kept in mind.
I think back to when we started doing this, and we only had 2 suits, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And now, seriously, I think we have 8 suits.
Well, the amount of, so when I got into hazmat, there was multiple level A's. Those have combined down to one. Where now we just have the 1 suit, but we got a ton of other equipment. We got radiation vests, we got radiation blankets, we got the active shooter kits, which includes the flak jacket and the helmet. So, our range of PPE has changed.
Yeah, that's a good point. The range has changed.
And we've also got some additional modern tools that we absolutely didn't have when we were growing up in the fire world.
And now we have, this was something that definitely wasn't around back then. And even 10 years ago, it was so new, was remote tools. In today's world, you should use remote tools and equipment for tasks that involve potential risks because, using drones. All the cool kids are doing that. All the cool kids are using, forgive me, I don't remember the actual model, but the Red Wave, it's kind of like the...
Oh, the FTIR
area rate kind of thing. The Red Wave, not the Red Wave. I'm sorry, Black Lines metering, where they all talk in a mesh.
Oh, yes.
Drones, robots. You can do this and be employed to inspect suspicious packages without directly exposing first responders to potential danger. If you're not thinking about using remote stuff, it's a low entry point now financially.
Yeah. And we want to be able to do things like implementing search techniques. One of the I thought this guy was absolutely nuts. He's one of Bob's favorite people, so I won't mention his name, and that's a total lie. Bob hates him. But when he was on Resource, he would get out from every single run, and he would walk up and down the block, and he would just look in all of the cars just to do this primary search that nobody else on scene was doing, just to kind of establish that whole secondary device type of a situation. I thought that was really cool. So, think about implementing something like that where, you have somebody coming out and just doing that big picture check of the scene.
Now, clearance.
What's your clearance?
Right,
Clarence?
And I knew you were going with that way because, there are operations, and I remember one really vividly. We got off the rig, and it was this suspicious package right next to a firehouse, way down in the southern tip of Manhattan, and there was only one guy that got off the back with the backpack, which is a huge gamma scintillator. And he was the only guy to think about this. The cops weren't thinking about it. Nobody was thinking about it. But he's like, I should just go and walk down around the outside and just see if anything pops. Because what if it's a dirty bomb or whatever? Mm-hmm. So sometimes you got to get clearance by the bomb squad or explosive ordnance guys or whatever. Sometimes it's not for us to run in there. So getting clearance from the proper people that are giving that clearance is an important thing.
Yeah. Or understanding that you can provide that level of we can't go in. Right.
Right. You can say, no, I'm not giving clearance for other people to go in.
You know, it's funny. There was, I can so clearly remember one of the runs. Not everything we do is by all means perfect. And now there's things that we can talk about that we couldn't when we were both working. But there was a potential car bomb. Right, this guy had a laptop, wires, devices, and 2 gas cans in the back seat of a vehicle, and it was parked right outside of a yeshiva school, which is a Jewish school in the city. And the command post was set up next to the car. Like, I'm not even kidding you. It was next. Like, I was standing at the command post, and I could see the device and the wires and all the stuff, and I remember so hard trying to get the command post to move, and nobody would have any of it. So as much as you want to talk and train and say, oh, that doesn't make sense, I'm telling you, in the moment, things, they happen. And in that instance, I didn't communicate very effectively. Even though I think I did, I still didn't get my point across. So if you have to talk to people of relevant authority, your chiefs, your officers, you have to get to the point that you're comfortable being like, there's something wrong here, because I promise you, it's not the incident commander that's going to see the issue. It's going to be the guys on the ground that are going to relay information up. And sometimes if you know that something's not right, you have to have good communication, and you absolutely have to push your way through.
I like that. And with that, sometimes we can't just handle it, right? And you may have to evacuate. Right. And we've said this multiple times. The difference between evacuation and shelter in place is duration of the event, in very simple terms. Sometimes evacuation is necessary because it's not just a purely chemical thing. So let's say there's a credible threat for a secondary device or something else, right? So you may think, all right, because of the unknown, it's just simpler or safer to evacuate. And so the evacuation procedures should be well coordinated, and safe assembly points should be established. If you're saying to yourself, we don't have anything like that, you kind of do if you figure out how to put up like an amber alert or a silver alert. You know, that is, back in the day, we had to send out the army of cops to go knock on doors. But now everybody's cell phone goes off and says, hey, grandma's missing again. Right.
Yeah, I know when a tornado in Tennessee is going to touch down. Like, I should be able to use that information without a doubt. We have a saying in jiu-jitsu, drillers make killers, and that couldn't be closer to the truth. If you drill and you train on something over and over and over again, when it's time to actually execute a maneuver, you can do it without thinking. It is absolutely essential for first responders to be going through various scenarios, especially ones involving secondary devices. Like, it's very easy to drill on a secondary device. Take any hands-on drill that you normally would do and just have somebody go, I think we have a secondary device here, and see what everybody does and how they act. It's something that we want to get ingrained into us, because if I hear secondary device, I shouldn't have to wait to hear from my officer as to what we should do next. We should already know what to do next, so we can start doing it without that jumbled communication and panic starting to set in.
And I would say also to stay informed and how about this, current and informed. Because if you're thinking, I already got this, man, I've done this stuff, and you're not reading publications, I hate to say it, but like social media, there's actually some decent articles on there. CBRNE magazine's a great one, but stay informed about the latest tactics, techniques, and procedures related to the identification and handling of secondary devices. Talk to people. Continuous education and staying up to date is one of the best practices that will improve your safety.
Yeah, the techniques that they're using overseas, they will bring here. And no matter where you stand on any political issue, we have a huge potential for different types of activity to happen here in the United States, and they're going to mimic whatever works. And this stuff's been around for a while, right? The one of the first ones to happen in this country was back in '97 outside of the Atlanta Northside Family Planning Center back in February of 1997, and they had a secondary device placed in the proximity of the primary explosion. So the people came and they responded to an explosion, not thinking anything of it. What do? You go to the spot where the incident happened, and then a secondary device goes off. And they also planned this at the Boston bombing. Off the top of my head, there was a secondary device that was designed to go off. People just happened to be going in a different direction, so it didn't have the intended impact.
Another incident, and we'll probably leave it here for this episode, is a Puerto Rican peace officer was reported to have been killed by a flashlight bomb rigged with an improvised motion switch at a crime scene. So you can do a little YouTube and find, dozens of examples of possibles. In fact, if our memory serves on that Atlanta one, it never really worked.
No, I don't believe the Atlanta one ever went off. I think they discovered it, but it was designed to, or there was a failure in the system.
Yeah, I think it was in like a dumpster. And it was in the place because they called in multiple automatic alarms, and the rigs kept parking in the same spot. And for some reason, I remember the chief changed, and he wanted them to park in another spot. And it was only because he said change it that it didn't. I'm not going to say it went off, but it because he did that, they saw something that was different. And so, listen. Think about this, guys. You should be head on a swivel, as they say.
They should have a head on swivel. The not that the Times Square bombing was a secondary device or the attempted Times Square bombing, but who saw that? It was the boots on the ground. It was your firefighter. It was your cop. It was not the terrorism center. It was not the chief of department. So it is the guys on the ground who are going to be the eyes and the ears to protect the other guys.